afternoon from Los Angeles, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the charts of Shopify as well as Target and Burlington stores. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Corum here, and I'm joined today by Justin Nielsen, and we were able to see gains across the board today. Yeah. The NASDAQ finishing up about 0.5%, the Dow as well, the S&P up 0.6%, and it's trade, this time to the upside today.
Yes, exactly. So it basically was a continuation of the rebound that started yesterday. We saw a lot of downward action in the early morning, and then by the end, as you and Ed talked about yesterday, it got that support and closed above the 21-day exponential moving average line. So now it just kind of continued yesterday's gains into today, and that just kind of made for a lot of reversals, a lot of action. So if you did get, we were talking about this on IBD Live, if you did get shaken out, that would have been tough, because we like to wait until the end of the day, if at all possible, and so that's what we were kind of telling people to do on IBD Live, and that was a good call in that case. And now we have a lot of stuff that's popping up. Software, chips even, today we're showing a lot of strength, so it's kind of game on. Now this can be, of course, derailed by trade war headlines and stuff like that, as always. But so far, I mean, the headlines have really, been shrugged off, for the most part. So that's a positive. The market wants to go up.
Yep, that's why we definitely want to continue following this trend very closely and not try to make too many predictions. Like you said, if you would have looked intraday yesterday, things weren't looking too good, but you just have to be flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and moving on, let's take a look at Shopify, because that stock gained over 6% today in heavy volume, extending its gains from yesterday. And this is one that we saw finding support on Monday at its 50-day, and it's continuing higher, of course, in this e-commerce theme, announcing record-breaking sales for its merchants, and the stock is definitely benefiting.
Yeah, so definitely take a look at the story that Reinhard Krauss has done. So it really kind of nails down what Shopify does and why it is that they're moving, and it really has to do with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and that did start yesterday. Now, you and Ed talked about Coupa software. This is also in the software enterprise section, but it has that retail aspect to it as well. So it started with a 6% move yesterday. That got it above an early entry at this 349.54 level. And you can see that right where the 50-day moving average line, that red line, is kind of hit up to that level, came back down, and now it crossed that area of resistance. This is another one we were talking about today. Is this a double bottom? It's a little low in that middle of the W, but that is definitely an area of resistance, and when it crossed that was kind of a signal. Early on today, it was showing that strength, and that strength just continued throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think maybe an early tell for investors was on Monday, when the stock was down as much as 6% or more, I think, and then found support at that 50-day. It came well off of its lows for the day, where broadly we weren't really seeing that much of a rebound. It's just underscoring the strength, or the potential.
And that's what we're looking at right now. Those stocks that can get support. I know you had the moving average discussion yesterday. So 50-day moving average line is what we're typically using, but some of these stocks, they're trending so well that they're actually holding above short-term moving averages at this point.
Yeah, and just really quickly, so if you missed that early entry, what are you looking for now? A handle or breakout to new highs?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if it just went up to new highs from here, I would feel that's a little extended.
Yeah.
So I would want it to see some type of break before then. And if it breaks right here, that's fine. Just kind of a nice sideways movement. Or if it gets up to that old high and then kind of takes a break from there, that's ideally what I would like to see. But as I've learned, stocks don't always do what I want. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll just keep watching it very closely. And moving on, let's take a look at shares of Target. Sticking with the retail and e-commerce theme, Target definitely investing a lot in its e-commerce business, and that is paying off big time. We've seen 2 gap ups in a row on earnings for this stock, and it is holding the gains from the most recent gap up.
And I think you and I were talking about this when it had its earnings gap up as a way, hey, is this something that you could have played? If you were late to the party, that's okay, because it is possibly giving you another chance right now. It's held all of those gains. That was a 14% move on that
right.
day. Phenomenal. And it really hasn't given up much ground. We have the 10-day moving average line on there in this case, and you can see how it's just kind of followed along and really hasn't punctured that level. It kind of came down there the last couple days, but it's really holding there. And so if this kind of goes back up to new highs, this could be like a more of a short-term trade if you didn't get that earlier entry.
So more of a swing trade?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
or add on to the shares that you have.
Okay, good to know. Multiple ways that you can get tactical with the Target right here. Okay, and let's talk about Burlington in the discount retail type space, and a similar move here, holding gains after a strong move on earnings.
Yeah, so the move on Burlington was only 8%. So we're going to play a little compare and contrast. So the move here was only 8% on that earnings gap. It hasn't had as much time to pull back, and it hasn't had as deep of a pullback. But it is a very similar move. So this could be offering another opportunity to maybe get a short-term trade in there if it gets to new highs, or if you see kind of a bounce, a strong bounce. You don't have to necessarily wait for those new highs to hit. A lot of times you can just kind of start your adding as you see that bounce, as you see that strength coming in, especially if it's accompanied by volume.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like it's definitely key to look at the technical action in tandem with the fundamentals, because the fundamental stories for all of the names that we usually talk about always, but especially today, really strong fundamental stories backing them up. Yeah,
and especially with things like retail, that's something that it's very easy to kind of understand. This was always one of Bill O'Neill's favorite sectors. I mean, way back in Pick and Save and Price Club, some of those early moves, he was able to kind of look at the parking lots and say, okay, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the parking lots. That's telling me that there's something special going on with these with these companies.
And the consumer is really strong right now, that we do know.
Absolutely.
So, there are definitely retail laggards out there, but quite a few winners right now.
Sure. I mean, the brick and mortar, the mall related, those are having some struggles, but you have these others, like Target and Burlington. They both have brick and mortar, but they have a huge online presence, and they're kind of doing things a little bit differently than your older stalwarts.
That's right. Well, some retail stocks to watch for you right there, and that is it for today's show. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And before we go, a quick announcement: we do have a new episode of the Investing with IBD podcast dropping tomorrow. We have a new episode that comes out every Thursday, so make sure you're heading to investors.com/podcast for all the details on that. And another quick shout out for IBD Live. I mean, you've mentioned it a little bit on the show, how we're talking about it, but give us a little bit of an inside scoop as to what's going on with IBD Live.
Well, really, we have 4 panelists on each day, and someone we usually have kind of doing a Q&A in the background, and it's really kind of, you get that first hour of trading, you kind of see what we're looking at, what's on our radar, what moves we're, and we try to give some guidance. And one of the things that's I think a lot of people find valuable is that, no matter what your level of experience, it's very easy to be in this bubble, as a trader. You don't really get to talk to other people. And so
you're getting that real-time feedback.
Yeah, and we have the benefit here, you can see behind us, we're all kind of chatting and yelling and, stuff all the time at each other. And so you kind of get the benefit of that conversation between people. And, sometimes we miss things. Actually today, DT, you guys talked about that yesterday. And, I was wondering what happened to it. Why was it down so much? And actually some of our subscribers were, piping in saying, oh, there was a secondary offering. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what was going on. So it really kind of allows for a lot of collaboration and, instruction as well.
Yeah, that's right. And you can get a free 2-week trial by heading to investors.com/IBD Live. So make sure you check that out. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.